Pure craft Korean soju. What's it like, and should you be chasing these? Stay tuned for the Whiskey Whistle. 안녕하십니까. Hello, my whiskey and soju people. Mark here from Whisky Whistle on YouTube, sharing a little whiskey and soju awesomeness from Winnipeg, the center of North America, bringing you a very special soju. We'll call it a throwdown. It's a showdown between three different brands. It's a little unfair because one of them is barrel aged and the other are not, but it's going to be fun anyway to check these out. I have one brand that I've never tried before, and that is called Ryeo. Ryeo. It's like a weird R and a Y and then an ah sound. So it's like Ri and then ah. Ryeo. Ryeo. Okay, so that's Ryeo soju. This is from a big producer in South Korea called Koksundang. So Koksundang makes a lot of distilled beverages and fermented beverages for the South Korean market. So you can find their products pretty much everywhere. And then we have a couple of, they also make makgeolli too. The Korean unfiltered rice wine, rice beer type of product. And then we also have two brands that you may not be familiar with as well. The first of which is Hwayo. So Hwayo is now available in Canada, and I'm not sure if they have the 53% version, but anyway, so that's basically cask strength-ish. And then also, and then over here on my right we have Tokki Soju, Tokki Gold, Tokki Gold, which is again, it's barrel aged in virgin American oak barrels. The ones in front, Ryeo. These ones are 25% over here. That's kind of like for everyday drinking with a meal. And then we have 40%, which would be better for making cocktails or for sipping. So we'll try those first. Now, these are they're not like vodka. They're not distilled to within an inch of their lives. There is a lot of stuff that gets through distillation. So it's more like new make spirit, like single malt new make spirit, or like Kentucky bourbon white dog, or whatever you call it, before it hits the barrel. All right, so we'll start with Ryeo, 25%, and hopefully you're enjoying watching Whiskey Whistle here with me today. Again, my name is Mark, and if you could, why not subscribe to the channel right over here, and then hit the bell, ding ding, so you're notified of future Whiskey Whistles. There we go. Okay, we'll just pour a little bit of this. If you're enjoying a lot of Whiskey Whistle, then why not check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/Whiskey Whistle. And if you become a supporter of the channel, you'll get your name in the credits at the end of each video. And you'll also get advanced viewership, advanced viewing opportunities of future Whiskey Whistles. You'll also get your own Whiskey Whistle glass after about 3 months, or $3 or $4 of support, whichever comes first. Anyway, a big konbae to everybody in Korea. Konbae. And cheers to everybody way over here. Konbae is the version of cheers, which Korean people say kind of formally. Informally, they say things like jan. So anyway, jan. All right, so now this is a really interesting soju because it's got sweet potato as the starch. And if you're wondering, like, how is it fermented? Well, they don't use laboratory yeast. What they use is something called nuruk. And nuruk is like a sourdough starter that they make typically from rice. They can make it from other things, and from barley, for example. And then that's what ferments the rice non-alcoholic beverage and makes it into basically rice beer or rice wine. And then after that, it's distilled in something not unlike like this. All right, so the smells. We have some really neat vegetal notes as well as some fruit notes here. I have lingonberry, And I have some very sweet summer cucumber. It's got a really fragrant aroma. There's a little bit of honeysuckle. So there's a floral element, but a sweet floral element. And I'm really enjoying this. I think this is a very interesting soju. And I'm really happy that a big producer, these are made by Guksundang, a big producer is getting into the craft, well, I should say craft style, the pure style of traditional Korean soju. There's some very light vanilla in there as well. But what I love most is this nice light berry note, which, you know, I don't know, is that coming from the sweet potato, the goguma, or is it coming from the nuruk? Because certain nuruk, if you make nuruk from barley, for example, so a sourdough kind of starter of barley, it's going to have a different effect on the fermentation, and different flavors will be created during fermentation, and these carry through even through distillation. A little bit of blackberry. So blackberry, this lingonberry, some nice light summer cucumber that's very sweet. Well, I'm really excited to try this. So that's Ryeo, 25%. Definitely a nice sweet edge, a nice sweet edge to this. 25%, it's a little watery for me, but it still has lots of flavor. And this would be a great accompaniment to spicier foods, some spicy Korean foods like jukgumi bokkeum would be. This would be great with jukgumi bokkeum, or takduritang, chuncheon dakgalbi. This would be fantastic with that. Because what I find with spicy foods and anything 40% and up, it's just a little bit too overpowering to have the heat from the liquor and the spice from the hot spice from the Korean food or whatever other food. So this would be really great with spicier foods. Another taste here. There's a nice, crisp, very dry white wine note in there as well. The finish is not very astringent, a little bit sweet, medium dry, and it carries on a good long while. And we have a nice kind of a waxy mouthfeel with this as well. Most Koreans will drink this ice cold. I think it's great at room temperature. Served cold, it'll just be a little bit less sweet and a little bit more, you'll just notice more of the alcohol with ice added. Okay, so next we're going to try up another new product for me, and that is Ryeo 40%. And I want to show you something with these lids. Let's see if this comes off. There we go. Okay, so a lot of Korean beverages, soju beverages, come with something kind of like this. And I think I've shown you this before. It's a nice game that you can play, a drinking game, and you twist it up and go like that until it's basically a single line. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Okay. All right, so then you play a game and you flick this thing. And everybody flicks it, takes a turn, flicking it, flicking it, flicking it, flicking it, flicking it, flicking it. And then eventually, it comes off. And if you flick it off, then I believe you drink. So it's a pretty fun game. And you'll go through a lot of bottles playing that. Okay, so the 40% Ryeo. So this is exactly the same beverage. We just have less proofing water added. And it's really interesting that the added strength, you're getting a lot more spice coming through. Now I think I poured kind of a weak pour there. Okay. We get some spice, and then we get amplified vanilla. I'm not smelling the blackberry or the fruity notes that I did in the 25%, which is really interesting. So I'm getting more general spice. White pepper, some pickled ginger, even a little bit of wasabi. And then when I swirl it around, I'm picking up some very nice light cocoa notes. Now this is really, really interesting. This is what I suggest to you who likely have never ever tried Korean soju, is to go to your local liquor store, especially if it's a privately operated one, and ask them to carry in some exceptionally good quality soju, not the green bottle. There's only one green bottle soju that personally I approve of, and it's called Daejangbu. It's double the price, but it's still just like $2 a bottle. Fantastic. Daejangbu. So that's a great one. You're better off paying a little bit more to get these craft Korean soju products. You might be wondering, if you're a mixologist, you might be wondering, like, how could you use these? You could use them in place of vodka in drinks, but you're going to get more flavor, and probably there's going to be some flocking that goes on depending on the ice and etc. etc. So if you're looking for a crystal clear drink, you don't want to use these. If you are making if you like making cocktails with unfiltered more craft style gins, then yes, this is great. But keep in mind, there's no herbals. We don't have any botanicals here in soju. Now I'm getting a little bit of a tart note, something like a slightly soured apple. Not a sour apple, but a soured apple. But really interesting. That cocoa is just bizarre here for me. All right, cheers, folks. Kanbei. Super flavorful. What you lose on the nose with the 25%, you're gaining on the palate with the 40%. You've got the cocoa, you got the fruit in there, that vanilla coming through, some nice, just elegant, let's call it like agave syrup sweetness. Nicely mouth coating. It's not sharp. Of course, it's 40%. A little more potent than whiskey at 40%, than blended Scotch whiskey at 40%. And we can add a bit of water to this, because what's going to happen is we'll get some of those blackberry-like fruit notes coming out. And I think that's going to be fantastic. And just for, I guess, my, ease of operation here. I'm not going to cut this. There's maybe one part that I'm going to cut out of this. I messed up in the beginning, but everything else is going to be uncut. I just don't have the time to get these videos out before Christmas time. Yeah, so with a little bit of water, you get a touch of blackberry like jamminess. And some ramped up light vanilla extract vanilla. And I didn't show this to you, but check out the legs on this soju. It's harder to see because it's you know, clear white, but it's got some nice thick legs. And look at the oh yeah, wow. You know, and probably if I had something like Smirnoff vodka at 40%, you wouldn't see this type of legging going on. You would see something more like much lighter, like water trickling down. Excellent. Well, I want to get on to the Whisky Whistle soju score for Ryeo. Ryeo 25% and Ryeo 40%. What are they going to be? They're going to be 84 and 87. That's right, 84 points and 87 points out of 100 for Ryeo soju from South Korea. Really nice, and I wasn't expecting to like these. Again, it's a big company, and I'd prefer to support smaller producers. But this is top quality and every bit as good as anything else I've got in front of me here today. So very well done to Kuksundang. So 진짜 잘 만들었어요. Very, very nice. Okay. I'm going to give these a little bit of a hug. A little soju hug. Okay, excellent. Okay, so I'll probably set these down now. And I'm going to put those two away. And we will get on to the stars of the show tonight. I guess I am going to use different glasses for everything. Make sure I've got a clean one. Yep. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to pour something you've seen on the channel before, but not the 53% version, and that is Hwayo 53%. So again, we have the same story. We've got rice, we have nuruk, and we have no proofing water added, I don't think. And we have some, you know, I should have mentioned that, but not barrel aging, but clay pot aging that occurs. And in the case of Hwayo, this happens underground. And the bubbles that you see tell you a little bit more about the proof. So that's an interesting thing. And I think while I'm at it, I'll just get this one poured as well. So Tokki Soju, this one is made very locally. Let me just read this for you. 충청북도 충주시 엄정면 신말리. So that's where it's made. That's pretty cool. And the company name is just Tokki Soju. Tokki Soju. They have a great, excellent restaurant and bar in Seoul near, where is it close by? The popular university. What's it called again? Hongdae. That's it. So in Hongdae, really popular area if you visit Korea. In Hongdae, you'll find the Tokki Soju bar within a nice building. It's very close to one of the subway stations. So check that out if you're there. Obviously, we're going to try the clear product first from Hwayo. Should we look at the legs? 53%, I would expect the legs to be a little bit, actually fairly similarly runny. Let's see. You know, fairly beefy, in fact, and quite slow. 53%. If you're in Korea and you get a bottle of this, take your time, take smaller sips, and please try it at room temperature. don't stick that in the freezer to get it cold. You're going to miss out on a lot of the event. So cheers. Well, the nose. Lots of spice here. White pepper, a little bit of chili pepper. We have some cool cucumber. A few vanilla pods. Some cardamom. That's really interesting. And interestingly, a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg in there. To me, this reminds me a lot of, say a Highland new make, Highland single malt new make. A little bit of eucalyptus, some menthol, and a couple sprigs of mint. All right, onto the palate. Cheers. Done. Obviously really warm, very spicy. Whereas the 40% that I reviewed a few years ago, lots of cucumber flavor. I don't get that much here. We'll probably have to add some water to see that cucumber show itself. Some lemon balm, some ginger, candied ginger, fresh ginger, white pepper, that little bit of chili, and we've got all the 5 spices here. We've got sweet, we have bitter, we have sour, we have what am I missing? Snub, it's gone. Anyway, and umami. When you chew on that a little bit, when you slosh it around your mouth a little bit, you get a little bit of this very fresh cucumber. A little bit of Korean apple pear skin. The finish is dry, it's peppery, it's a little bit feisty. It is quite enjoyable, and the sweetness does carry a little while, but we'll add a little bit of water there. All right, so with water, definitely get more green notes coming through, that cucumber resurfacing, but still very much a peppery, spicy event. The palate again, kombe. That's more like it. We get a little bit more vanilla sweetness. That cucumber showing up again. Still quite dry, but still very, very delicious. Well, it's that time. Let's get on to the Whisky Whistle Soju score for Hwayo 53%. What is that going to be, folks? It's going to be 89 out of 100. You heard it, 89 out of 100 is the Whisky Whistle whiskey score for Hwayo 53%. And it needs a soju hug. And I'm going to kiss that dragon right on the lips. Mwah. Excellent. Really, really enjoyable. I think that maybe a little bit longer time in the clay pots might smoothen things out a little bit. That's called inert maturation, by the way. But interestingly, the clay pots that they use for that, they are semi-porous. So there is a little bit of interaction with the ground nearby. Quite delicious. Yeah. If you get to Korea and you see that at the duty free at Incheon, I would highly suggest you grab one, okay? Okay, so now then, we'll get on to Tokki Soju, and this is their Tokki Gold. What is it called again? Here we go. Tokki Soju Gold. This one is 46% ABV. And you know why they chose that number? They chose that number because then they don't have to chill filter it. They chose that number because that's what the consumer wants. And both of these are highly, highly attractive to consumers. You got something that's cask strength with no garbage added. So it's pure, it's traditional, and excellent. And here we've got basically the same thing. It's proofed. It's barrel aged in virgin oak and then proofed. Okay, so let's check out the color together. So very much like a, your typical Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. So a nice rich tone that is way beyond copper and quite dark actually. And the legs. And I have to thank my friend Sun Young, who took me to the Tokki Soju bar, a Whisky Whistle and Friends member on Kakao Talk. And we got treated to a fair couple of delicious Tokki Sojus. And I liked this one so much that I went back the next day to buy a couple of bottles. There's another one. Oh, where is it? Oh, here it is. There's another one right there. That was, I think, the day before I left. Now, it noses like a Kentucky straight bourbon. Actually, somewhere between Kentucky straight bourbon and a Canadian whiskey aged in virgin oak. So there's a lightness to it, and yet there's also that just big vanilla caramel oaky tones. We get some milk chocolate. Some damp cedar. Also, we got some pepper, some caramel, and we still have quite a bit of the original spirit coming through. So this is, I don't know, 3 years or so. I'll just read this for you. 토끼 소주 골드는 최상급의 쌀을 빚어 아메리칸 오크통에서 숙성한 증류주입니다. 바닐라와 캐러멜 완성한 부드러운 로스팅의 풍미 함께 즐겨요. Which basically says Tokki Soju is made with the best rice and best rice fermented, and then it is aged in American oak. And then they tell you to expect vanilla and caramel, which absolutely we do get that. And we should have a very, very smooth kind of a roasting, like roasted roasted grain, roasted coffee, the bounty, the pumi, the fullness, and to enjoy the liquor. So, 함께 즐겨요. Please enjoy it with us. I think that means with us anyway, or with friends. So kanbei, cheers. Very, very soft, and it's actually highly alkaline, which gives it that soft kind of waxiness, kind of elegance, kind of like when you soften hard water. And even though it's 46%, it's immediately sippable. It's more like something about, like, let's say 86 proof for bourbon. We've got some dark cherries, a little bit of roasted grain, definitely a little dollop of spent coffee grains in there. And the finish is obviously very oak forward. I dare say this was over oaked to some degree, but it's really enjoyable. The spirit is immaculate. It's a great spirit, and those casks that they were using did a very good job here. We'll add a little bit of water. Whoops. That's about a good 3 or 5 milliliters. Now, if you're in Korea and you're watching this, have you been to the Tokki Soju bar? Have you checked out Hwayo soju? What about Ryeo? Have you seen it at E-Mart and the big marts? And did you wonder about it? And did you pass it by? And hopefully this spurs you to go and get some. And I mentioned Daejangbu, so look for that one. And even the Ilpum Jillo. So Jillo is the big brand of soju called, I think people call it Jinro here. So Jillo soju. They make one called Ilpum, which is kind of like their best product. And they've also upped their game with that one too. There's no sugar added anymore, because there had been, and I had always avoided it, but it's really, really quite good. All right, so with water, it tones down the oak. We get a little bit more, not so much caramel, but we get a little bit of underripe banana. And some of the grain is coming through, the rice, the smell of raw rice when you're washing it. Brown rice. All right, cheers again. Oh yeah, so when you add some water here, everything's there. The little bit of fruit, the spice, the caramel tones, the vanilla, obviously, but then you get this really this big rush of bright, fruity. I don't want to say delicate. In fact, the opposite, strong flavor at the end of the palate as you get into the finish. Oh yeah. It makes the finish utterly amazing. Bright, fruity, crisp, some Christmas ribbon candy, some, hard fruit candies. Insanely long finish and very delicious. I need one more taste of this. Cheers. Yeah, that's really nice. Well, you know what's coming here. First of all, a soju hug. And a soju kiss right on the rabbit. Tokki, by the way, means rabbit. And I am a rabbit. I'm the year of the hare, 1975. And I think I'm a wood. Yeah, I'm a wood hare. So I kind of feel an affinity towards this. So here we go. Mwah, beautiful stuff. All right. So, whoa, I almost forgot the Whisky Whistle Soju score for Tokki Soju Gold. What is that going to be, folks? It's going to be 89 out of 100. You heard it. 89 out of 100 is the Whisky Whistle whiskey score for Tokki Soju Gold. So craft soju, it is something so different from what you get at your local store that sells the green bottles that probably you see lots of Koreans go and grab. And one of the reasons is they're ubiquitous. You can get them any time of day. That's one big thing in Korea. People also develop an affinity. I already used that word. A connection, maybe even a synapse, a brain connection with a certain brand and how it tastes. That's their soju. So that's a big thing in Korea. You've got Jinro that I already mentioned, Jillo soju, and you have Tom처럼, which basically means like the first time. Has a big following. There's a few other brands that are popular as well, but people just stick to their brands, and I think price is a big factor in Korea. But when you're talking about $10 or more to get a bottle of Korean soju in Canada, for example, and it's 17% or 18, I don't think it's 17, and it's got sugar added, it's got flavoring added, it's only 1% soju. This is soju. It's 1% soju and 99% neutral, grain neutral spirits. Essentially, it is like it's I don't want to say what it is. I think you know what I'm talking about here, though. Spend a little bit more and grab yourself a bottle of this, and you're going to serve it with water, okay? In fact, you might even want to do that before your guests arrive. Decant it 1-to-1. Get that down to 53 divided by 2, so 26.5%. And your guests are gonna they're gonna be so thrilled. So that's one option. Or take these 40% or 46% varieties, and have water and ice on hand for your guests to try. I think they're gonna be really thrilled, and you're gonna become their best friend. All right. All right. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that Korean soju. Check it out. Again, my name is Mark. Subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you very soon. 안녕히 가세요. Goodbye.